So very quickly, let's do a recap. Last week, we were able to run through 1 minute, please. We were able to run through what design, UX design is all about. And we were able to learn the, the process whereby designers go through in order to build a viable product and eventually launch that particular product. All right. And last week as well, we were given some assignments to run through. I don't know if there is anyone here who has gone through the assignment and probably submitted their own. Do we have anyone here who has done that? Are we there?
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah, I submitted mine.
Okay, I'm not sure I've actually seen that. Maybe my received that, but I'm not sure I've actually. What? Okay, in order not to waste too much time, I'd like us to go straight into what we have for us today. All right. So, welcome to this class. To today's class once again, and today is going to be a continuation of what we started last week. All right. So last week we talked about what UI UX design is all about, and we were able to understand how it works. And basically today we're just going to be taking it further into having a deeper understanding of what and how UX design really works. All right. So first and foremost, I'm going to do a quick breakdown of what we are into this morning, and we're going to be doing a little bit of UX history, talking about user experience design itself. You know, it's just a deeper dive. Then we'll talk about industry standard for a good UX. Then why product design or UX is important to businesses. Why do we need to go through these rigors of, designing the roadmap, the experiences, and all of that? Why do we need to do all of that? Then we go into what product designers or what UX designers actually do, and then user experience framework, which is one of the most essential parts of product design. And then we'll just have a quick review of what good and bad UX is all about, right? So without any further ado, I'd like us to get started. Is everybody with me? I want to hear your talk. Oh. Is everybody with me?
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay. All right. So UX is a short form of the full form called user experience. And by now, I believe we all should have been able to have an idea and some good understanding of what it's all about. Now, the word UX, fully called user experience, was first coined in the 1990s by this professor. He's a professor of cognitive science and a psychologist as well. He has formerly worked at Apple Corporation back in the 90s as well. And his name is John Norman. So he was the first person to coin that word, user experience, right? And right now we have it being used popularly in product design, environment and all of that. You see people say, oh, UX design, UX, user experience and all of that. It's becoming quite popular now, all right? And basically, UX is one of the ways that will make life easy for people. All right, we'll get into understanding it more as I proceed. So it's such a good thing for every businesses to go through and to understand, and even individuals as well. So this is the man called John Norman who invented the term user experience. And by the way, before then, before the word user experience was being used, all right, the principle of user experience has actually been in existence, stretched back to thousands of years before, uh, all the way to ancient China, as you can see on my screen. So they used to call something feng shui. This feng shui is a practice by the Chinese. And what they believe by that practice is that the way you arrange things in the physical space, like your furnitures, your your gadgets, and all of the things you have maybe in your office or in your room, the way you arrange them could bring luck or improve mental and health states of a particular person. All right. They believe that the arrangement of things, if you look at the picture right here, you see the way you structured things in your room or in your house or in your office has is not just it has so many things to do beyond the physical. All right. It could bring luck, it could improve health and happiness. And we could see that being practiced today in so many industries. All right. So things being arranged in physical spaces means so much, and it's still the same practice that come into UX today, but in just a more advanced and in a more modern way, and it's being applied now in the tech world. All right. So user experience basically it focuses on how people use and interact with products. All right. Not just about arrangement of things in your room or something. In the modern day terms, when we relate it into, when we put it into tech, it focuses more on how people use it or relate with the product. Okay. So when we take it further, you can see from your screen right here that user experience is how a person, the user feels about interacting or experiencing the product. Okay. And by the way, what is a product? A product is a good or a services or sorry, a service or a feature, which could be a physical product like a video game controller, a bag of potato chips, or a technology product like a smartwatch, a website, or an application that you install on your smartphones. All right. So that's an example of a product. So we could have physical product, then we could have digital product. So physical products are the ones that you can easily interact with. I gave an example here, like a video game controller, like uh, like um, like even your laptop, okay, like a fan, a standing fan, you know, all of those things. They are examples of physical products. But taking it into tech, we'll talk more about things like digital product, which involves applications, websites, and other smart gadgets. All right. So basically, user experience is more about improving or making something easier to use. So when you bring in a product, the aim of user experience design is to ensure that the product is more easy to use, the product is simple and intuitive enough that the user will find it simple and exciting to use. All right. So the goal of every UX designer, all right, is to just make the user to be satisfied. All right. So the goal is to make every user to be contented with what they are using, to be fully, to be emotionally and physically connected to that product in such a way that they will enjoy every bit of that product. Okay. So which means the design, the structure, and the product and the purpose of a product is being made clear to every user. There is nothing like, oh, I don't know how to do this. The major aim is to ensure that everybody is is being taken along. No one is left out in the process. All right. So let's say, for example, uh, if you have an application, you're using an application now, and you maybe an application you download from iOS store or from Android store, and you're finding it difficult to identify a particular thing. Let's say there is a particular icon that was used, and there is no accompanying text that follow along. So you had been like, what is this used for? What do I achieve with this? And maybe you click on on that button and it did something else that you were not expecting. All right. So that's a poor user experience, because the experience should be much more easier for you. I mean, the interface should be much more easier for you, such that you can easily understand what it's talking about. All right. And the major structure for a good user experience is what you're seeing on the screen right here. For every product, it has to be usable, it has to be equitable, it has to be enjoyable, and it has to be useful for every user. I come again. For you to have a good experience, that product needs to be usable, it needs to be equitable, it needs to be enjoyable and useful. All right. And that is the goal of UX design. We want to make sure that everyone is enjoying the product. So let me start with usability. So let's take an example of this image on my screen. You can see this picture of a potato ketchup bottle, right? If you can, do a quick flashback, you remember that the Ernst tomato ketchup bottle used to come in glass bottles, right? So, and whenever people want to use it, there is a lot of stress, headaches trying to get out the ketchup outside of the bottle, especially when it is, it's getting to the middle, right? You have to keep beating the bottom of the bottle to get that thing out. And the experience is always awful, because two things will happen. Either you don't have ketchup coming out, or you have excessive ketchup coming out of that. Of course, this could be this is completely all right. So the user had to eat the bottom of the glass to make sure that the ketchup come out. And too much ketchup will either come out of the bottle, or you don't have no ketchup at all. Now, in the modern day, the whole thing has been redefined. Redesigned. All right. So now we use plastic bottles or squeezable bottles, which can make it which makes it easy for every user to control how much ketchup comes out of the bottle. So this is just a simple explanation of a product being usable for the user, and it's an improvement on the previous
Maybe he doesn't
design.
have about viewers.
How is
Hello?
it possible?
So these people have said anything without giving us this thing.
No, it's part of saying it's your mic.
Okay, somebody
needs to mute their mic. Who is that? Sorry. Can you please mute your mic? We can hear your conversation. Sorry about that, Timi.
Okay. So the next one is we have the equitable. The product has to be what? Equitable. And being equitable means that your designs are useful and marketable to people with diverse abilities and background. Okay? It means that your product is useful and marketable to people with diverse abilities and backgrounds. For example, you see a user that finds an app with a lot of text easy to use. But on the other hand, we need to consider some other people with visual impairments, and what is going to help them to be able to walk along with the application is the use of sound. They need to be able to hear sound. When they click on something, once they hear the sound, they know that I've clicked on this particular thing. All right. When the thing is done, there's going to be a sound that gives them a feedback that, okay, this is done. Just imagine if you have a laptop and you plug in into a power source and it is not on, and there is no indicator to tell you whether it's charging or not. Imagine if you have to on it before you could see whether it's charging or not. That's going to be an awful experience. And the way they even designed the laptop is such a way that when you plug in the laptop and the laptop is still charging, it shows you a particular indicator light that, oh, you can tell from the indicator, that's the feedback you're getting, that this is still charging. The moment it is fully charged, you still get a feedback different from the one you are getting when it was charging. You know that, oh, this laptop is fully charged. You don't need to put it on to know all of those things. So that's an example of an equitable product. All right. So considering the unique needs of many different people is one of the important parts of having an equitable design that is useful and, useful for everyone. Then the next one I mentioned is enjoyable. Enjoyable. So user experience is also about making things enjoyable to use, which means you have to create a positive connection between the user and the product. Are we following?
Yes.
Okay. So UX designer fosters positive connections by taking users' thoughts and feeling into account when making a product. And one of the things that it also enables us to do is that when this experience is enjoyable, all right, it will enable us to have the feedback that we want from the user. All right. So then and how do we figure out whether a product is enjoyable by the user? Of course, we need to do research. That's where research comes in. Of course, we'll still talk about research in the subsequent chapters. But when you do your research, you get feedback from customers that are using the product. You know whether they are enjoying it or not. All right. So, and those feedbacks is an evidence on how people are experiencing the product in real time. All right. And through that, you can even ask them on what next to do, what they want, what they would have loved to see in that particular product. All right. So, but we'll still talk more about research in later on. So the next one is usability. I mean, useful. So as human being, all of us, we want a product that is so much useful, meaning that it's going to solve our problems, right? Because there's always a purpose for everything. Even if you want to buy anything, there is always a purpose why you are getting that particular product. And that product should be able to meet up with the purpose why you intend to get that thing. So for every UX designer or product designer, this should be one of the targets that the product is useful for the purpose to which it was being brought to life. All right. Let's take Google Map, for example. Okay. Let me just use the general map like I have here. For example, if you're lost, let's say you traveled out to another state or another place and you missed your way. And interestingly, let's say you have your phone with you, you have your smartphone and you turn on the map and you could see different places on the map. But imagine if the map couldn't automatically detect where you are at the moment. Just imagine that. So the ability of the map being able to tell you where you are at the moment and show you the pathway to the next way out is what makes it useful. Because if the map can't detect where you are at that point, it's useless. Because obviously you don't even know where you are. It's only the app that can help out at that point. So the AI system of that thing should be able to automatically tell you that, oh, you are currently at this particular point. Okay, from here to that place, this is how you move. This is the next place to turn and all of that. So they have to be able to find your current location so that it's going to help you. That's how to describe a useful product. So let's quickly do a quick recap. We talk about a product being usable, equitable, enjoyable, and useful. So these 4 keys are very important for you to have an equitable product eventually. All right. So it's very important. And like I said earlier, UX or product design is not limited to digital space. All right. It's not limited to digital space. It actually applies to literally everything. Everything. All right. Anything that can be experienced can be designed. From the packaging of a toothbrush to the pressing iron you use, to the dress you put on, to the toys that the kids uses, to literally everything around us. Imagine the illustration that I used for the ketchup that bottle the other time. So it applies to literally everything around us. All right. And you know the interesting thing about a good product, when you have one of the best products out there, All right. It's when you have a good product out there, of course, the users are going to enjoy it. You understand? All of them, they're going to enjoy it. And of course, when people enjoy something, they tend to get more of that thing. Number one. Number two, they will introduce it to other people. They will say, "Oh, my friend, have you seen this particular product? Have you used it before? Have you learned about it before?" So all of them will be like, "Oh, this is good." And you know what that does? The moment they begin to get positive responses, it's going to boost the business as well. So it's a win-win for the user and for the business. So that's why the product design, the UX part of a business, of a product, is very, very important. All right. So if you can think of a product that you love, okay, just think about any product that you love right now, as you're just listening to me. Think of any product that you love to use, and maybe probably you have recommended to somebody before. So if you could remember anyone, that is an example of a fantastic user experience design in action. That's an example of a fantastic user experience, because if the experience has not been good, you wouldn't remember that, oh, this thing is good, I love it, or you wouldn't even want to recommend it to other people. So that's an example of that. So despite all this, it's still so painful that many companies still don't understand the role of UX design. And that's what causes many people to bring out the product, and in a short while it just fade away. People complains, people were just not satisfied with the product. They didn't do their research well, they didn't do the design, they didn't do a whole lot of things well, and you realize that everything just die very quickly. All right. So very quickly, I'd like us to move to the next thing. Why do we do UX design? Why is it important to businesses? Of course, I already mentioned one while I was explaining the importance of UX to UX design to any product. It gets to boost. You make more money. The business is going to grow, and the users too will keep enjoying your product, and they will keep requesting for more. All right. And the good thing is, in the world of UX design, the users always come first. I want you to note that in the world of product design, UX design, the users always comes first. The users always come first. All right. The users, they are the first thing. So now, regardless of any industry, businesses that focuses on good usability and design perform better than their competitors. So basically, it comes down to this. When people like a product, they use that product a lot. They recommend it to their friends, and more people using the product means better business for the company. It's so simple. All right. So now let's go to the next one, which is, we're going to be talking about our role as product designers, because I know some people will still be wondering, okay, maybe what am I supposed to do as a UX designer, as a product designer? Am I the one to design the interface? Am I the one to design the nylon? Am I the one to design the packaging and all of those things? Now, this is going to shed more light into that. Now, to become a UX or a product designer, your background doesn't really matter, all right? Because myself, for example, I studied accounting in the university, all right? And I do UX design, I do product design, all right? So you could be from any background. You could be a marketer, you could be an artist, a teacher, a small business owner, a cashier, a banker, a doctor, anybody, all right? So UX designer shares different backgrounds, but there are some things that are similar to them, okay? So rather than sharing similar work histories, UX designers tend to share common skills and interests instead. So what are those skills and interests? A lot of UX designers have good sense for visuals. Good sense for visuals, which means you can recognize an image, whether it fits well or not. You could easily spot something that is not being well fitted in the particular environment. All right. You could say something that doesn't fit in the space, or what colors complement each other. Okay, so you don't need to know anything about graphic design or even be able to draw to be a UX designer. All right, so UX designer is, it just tends to be curious. UX designer tend to be curious about people, and they like thinking about how people's mind works. UX designers tend to be curious about people, and they like,
I don't have some.
and they like thinking about how people's mind work.
Yeah,
So,
so this
and another thing that they love to do is they enjoy figuring out how people use products. They can easily picture a better way to do things, a better way to make things, a way, a different ways to make things to work. All right. So those are some of the common skills of UX or product designers. All right. Then UX designers are also empathetic. They are so much empathetic, because empathy is one of what we talk about in the design process. Before you can solve a problem for somebody, you must be able to put yourself in the person's shoe. All right. You must be able to put yourself in the person's shoe. That's how you know how the person is feeling. That's how you know what next to do for the person. Because if you don't know how I feel, you really relate with what next I should do or how I should go about it. It's just like somebody trying to console somebody who has never give birth to a child before, trying to educate somebody who is in the labor room. All right. It's the experience of somebody who has given birth before will be different, because the person has been through the same process. She could tell what is going on. She could tell what to do. She could tell how to approach it. That's exactly what UX designers, that's exactly one of the skills that UX designers possesses. They have empathy. They build empathy over time. They grow it. And empathy is the ability to understand someone else's feeling or thought in a situation. And it's one of the major parts of product design or UX design. You must be able to see through someone else's eye for you to be able to bring out. All right. Actually do. But let's still do a deeper dive into what UX designers do. All right. So when you think of the word design, you might think it's all about visual aspect of the product, but it's just one of the small part of what UX designers do. Designing is not everything. Let's talk about empathy. Different kinds of UX or product design role. Okay, so I just mentioned a few of them and talk briefly about them. We're not going to take too much time on these ones because of our time. Okay, is everyone with me?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so let's talk about the first one, which is interaction designers. Okay, okay, we have interaction designers, we have visual designers, and we also have motion designers. Now, for the interaction designers, what they do basically is that they are the one that plan out the experience, the walkthrough, or let's say the journey of a user through a product. They are the one that plan out the journey of a particular user through the product. So they are going to be the one to structure out how the user walk through, what next to do, how they move around, and it's one essential part of. Then we have the interface design, the ones that you see, the coloring part, the font part, the beautify, all of those things. Those are the people that does that. Then we have the motion designers, which they are the people that does anything that moves. Or, you know, when maybe in an application, there's an animation that is moving in that, okay? And also, you will be working along different other people, all right? Can you see this now? I say interaction designers focus on designing the experience of a product and how it functions. They figure out how to connect the user's needs and the business goal with what actually visible to build. All right. So why visual designers focuses on how a product or technology looks. They might be responsible for designing logos, illustrations, or icons. They also decide what font color size or work on product layout. Then for the motion designers, they think about what it feels like for a user to move through a product and how to create a smooth transition between pages of an app or a website. Don't forget that we are talking more about digital product here. And of course, this course also spread out to physical product as well. All right. So then we have other ones that I actually didn't list here. Sorry, I didn't list them here. We have also the graphic designers. All right. And I'm sure many of us are familiar with graphic designers suite. And basically they do designs, graphics, physical product like invitation card, banners, packaging designs, and all of that. Now, why UX designers, basically what they do is that they focus on how users interact with the product. Then outside of the design parts, we still have other fields and other roles in product design. We have the UX researchers, we have UX writers. UX researchers, they are the ones that get information about what the user needs and what could be improved. The UX writers are the one that writes if you have ever seen a product, most of the text you see, the way they put the text, the captions and everything, they were able to sit down to coin some of the words. If you walk your road through an application, if you have walked your road through an application before, all the words you see, do you want to move to the next thing? Close now. Okay, wait, we are going to be with you. So all of those texts that you see, some people sat down to coin those words because the impact of those words on every user also have a long way to go. You don't just write anything, all right? You don't just write anything. It's actually an important part of product design as well. We have production designers, we have UX engineers. The production designers are the one that manages the role. I mean, they manages literally everybody in the production stage, the designers, the motion, the everybody. Then we have the UX engineers. Let's take an app for instance now. When the interaction designers and the visual designers, they are done with their work, and let's say they have made the design, they have made the prototype, then this work is going to be deployed. I mean, it's going to be handed over to the UX engineers. They are also called software engineers, all right? Because those are the people that will bring the work to the final stage, to the real app that we'll see, that we use on our smartphones. These are the people that will actually do all UX program manager. There's no this in the process. They ensure that they are connecting the UX engineers with the researchers. They make sure that there is no breach in the communication, smooth process in the product design stage. So as you begin to learn more about this particular course, this UX design and product design, you will begin to notice some functionalities in your smartphones, in the layouts in your room, in things around you generally that you have not actually been noticing before. That's just the truth. When you look at things now, you see beyond the things that every other person sees. You see deeper that, oh, you see through the colors, you see through the design, the structure of that particular thing, you see through the framework and a whole lot of things. So one of the first tasks I will give you right now is, number one, to start paying attention to the things you use every day. That's one of the ways to improve yourself, to get better at design thinking, okay? You start paying attention to the things you use every day. The direction you have to turn the faucet in your bathtub, the way your baby's pajamas button is arranged, the error messages you get on your phone, what it means, how it comes out, how you feel when you see it the first time, how you open the door to your house. You begin to recognize some of those things, and you can begin to tell both negative and positive aspects of any of those designs. So you could even you could start with your own personal experience to begin to work out all of these things. So the task is use your personal experience to think about what makes a design good or bad. All right. Then number two, what could be made better in the design? Then you also state out all of these things will help you on how to solution, because as UX, as a product designer, as a UX designer, you are actually product problem solver. You're providing solutions for different people out there. Okay, so a UX designer, when you are, oh, okay. So, and as a UX designer, when you are working on a product, you will either be drafting up a new solutions, or you are suggesting a new feature for that particular product, or you are building up of something that has been built already, or you are finding a way to improve that particular. By identifying the problem. So it doesn't matter, even if you are going to be launching a physical product, one of the first things you do is you identify the problems. Because if you are not solving the problem, then ultimately you're not going to get there. That's the major focus or a purpose for whatever things you are doing. So it is the problem that gives you the pathway to walk through. Then it begins to get clearer as you work on it. So you begin to know what issues is going on with the particular product, within this product, or are we looking to improve or introduce a new feature? So once you begin to find out those problems, you will start to realize that what the solution is and why it needs to be done in a particular way. Are we there? So all of these things are necessary for us to get better at our role as a product or UX designer. All right, so let's get into some of the typical responsibility of an entry-level UX or product designer. Now, I mentioned some specific roles the other time, like interaction design, visual design, and some other ones like that. Now, there are other things you are going to be doing, okay? Because as an entry level, you're going to be, because in product design, we have generalists. I mean, we have generalists, we have people who are specialists as well. So, but when you were starting out, of course, you're going to do more of being a generalist, having to touch a whole lot of places, a whole lot of things, wear different hats to ensure everything works fine. You want to work in a big, they have, several staff that can undo different things, then they will have different offices for different places, for different roles, whereby people can stick to a more specific task all through the project. So, but other things we'll be talking about is researching. Researching is one of the most essential parts of design. Then we talk about wireframing, and wireframing is more or less like a design to demonstrate the basic feature of the page in order to gain support from maybe stakeholders or business managers or some other people. So the wireframing, you just kind of do a quick sketch out of what you want to do, all right? And the prototyping is just like an early stage, and is an early stage model of the product. It's just like having a dummy demo, or a demo of that particular product. It's actually not the real product, but you can have a demo of how the product works and functions. Then you're going to be doing what is called creating information architecture, all right, where you're going to be structuring the through the process of let me cite an example of the creating information architecture. If you have
Timi, you're breaking up.
Timi,
you're breaking up.
Oh, can you hear me?
We can, but you break up sometimes.
Oh, sorry about that. Am I clearer now? Can you hear me clearly now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so if you have, I'm talking about in creating information architecture, what it actually means. It means, when you try to open a Microsoft Office package or most of the app you use, and you go to the file menu, you used to have file. If you go to the file menu, you can see that everything that has to do with the file menu, you will see something like save as, print, and all of. So that arrangement is what is called create. Is what is there's a structure that it follows. Not that you are going to see save in the file menu, you are going to see print in another place that is different. So everything has the functions that does the same thing, that they are around the same functionalities, they are arranged in a particular place. Then we have communicating effectively. This is one of the the skill we need to understand and work and know very well. Because if you're working on the bigger products, you will have other people you're working with. You work in a team. You must be able to communicate what you're doing effectively to other people so that you can have the same goal. You can work towards the same goal and you end up achieving the same results, right? So as you proceed, you can either choose to be a generalist or special, like I said, you see. So this is the summary of what I was talking about the other time. Okay. Now, without wasting too much time, let's define user, end user, and experience design, because a lot of people used to mix up these terms. That's why I decided to put it up here. Cool. So in the field of user experience design, one of the most important terms is user. You will hear, they will say user first. You will hear people saying it's all about the user in mind, user-centered design. Everything is just, and that's just the truth. If it's not about design, then you're not doing anything. It has to be about the design. I mean, about the user, all right? It just has to be about the user. If it's not about them, then you're not doing anything for anybody. So a user is anybody who uses a product. And in addition, the end user, now this is where I want to make some clarification. The end user is the specific audience a UX designer creates something for. So there is a little distinction between the and we have the end user. Are we following? So a user is anybody that uses a product. The end user is the specific audience that you, as a product designer, you are creating that particular thing for. Because you could be creating a product for some set of people, but other people too could find it useful. All right. So, and our goal as UX or product designers is to be able to think about problems and needs from the end user's perspective. I want you to note that you look at it from the end user's perspective and design an experience to meet those needs. Now, let me show you an example, an illustration of that. Now, look at this. Think of it like this. If you go to an animated movie, if you're watching, if you go to a studio, a cinema, for instance, and you are watching an animated movie talking about cars, an animated movie is about talking cars. You know that those films, they are designed for kids. You see cars talking, jumping, bouncing, and all of that. Those things, they are designed or thereabout. The end users, the kids are the end users. But you will definitely see some adults and teenagers, they will be in the audience as well. Those are also the users. All right. But the kids are the goal. They are the main focus of people that did that particular motion graphics, animation video. So, but of course, any other person could come around and enjoy the film. Okay. So the moment the kids are happy, they are bouncing, they are jumping, and they are happy with what they are seeing, I'm telling you, that's a fulfilled product. Okay. But of course, that's the goal. We want to make sure that the end users, they are well satisfied. That's the goal. So whenever you are trying to design, you must ensure that the end users is put to mind. All right. So if the kids don't enjoy what they watch in that movie, you should know that that's a bad user experience in action. All right. So so very quickly, let's move to user experience frameworks. user experience framework. Don't forget that we talk about some of the major things you need to ensure you have in your design. It has to be, and some of the questions you need to ask yourself whenever you are planning out a product is, you ask yourself, is the product easy to use? Is the product equitable? I think I've mentioned that earlier. Does the product delight the user? All right. So if you can answer yes to all of those questions, then you should know that you are onto creating a fantastic product for your users. All right. So very quickly, I like to go here. So a framework creates the basic structure that focuses and support the problem you're trying to solve. Now, in creating in solving a problem, there is a structure that has been created. This has been done over the time, over the years. So they have been able to come up with a structure, a framework that will help us to achieve the expected around the bush, or we are repeating the mistakes that some people made in the past, right? So the idea of the framework is just to show us a roadmap to walk through when you're trying to create a product that is intuitive and useful for the people. All right. So, and I remember this particular quote that says, any product that does not is bound to a product must focus on the users and must be able to consider their emotions. Hello, can everybody hear me?
You keep breaking up.
Oh, sorry. I think you can hear me now, right?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. So
Sorry, you said there was a saying that you broke up then.
Okay. It's actually by one of Google's founders, Larry Page. All right. He says, when you focus on the user, every other things will follow. He said, focus on the user, then every other thing else will follow. So you have to focus on the user's emotion, focus on their story, know their pain points, gather insights about them, and be able to, have enough information for you to bring about a solution to their problem. All right. And that is what brings us to the framework. So there is now a framework that has been created for us to be able to solve problems for our users, for the end users, or for the users. Right. So the first one I talk about is user-centered design framework. Now, this is how it looks. All right. So now, following this framework, we help us to build products that people actually want to use. All right. So we have different of the. I'm going to be talking about the three here. Of course, these frameworks they keep improving them. Right. As time evolves, as technology changes, as everything gets better, they still try to refine all this. They try to refine the framework. All right. So the first one we have here is understand. The first one is understand. You need to understand how the users experiences the product. That's the first thing. So understanding the end users and understanding the end users requires a lot of research, because there's no way you can understand somebody you do not have any information about. You need to be able to either interview them, speak with them, get a report from them, and all of that. So understanding the user's experiences, and that's why the research part also is very important, which we'll be talking about later. Then the next thing is you specify the end user's need. All right. So, and this is also going to be done based on the research you got from the understanding them. All right. You'll be able to specify, okay, I already know you now. What do you need? What are the things that you really need? All right. So you'll be able to narrow down which end user's problem is the most important for you to solve. So you're not just beating around the bush and doing the wrong thing for the wrong people. or doing the right thing for the wrong people. All right. Then the next thing is you design solution. All right. We have understand, specify, design. Design means you're designing a solution, and this is where you come up with ideas for what the products might look like, the solution you are bringing up. All right. So these are the ideas you come up that you're using to build a product for those people. Then finally, you evaluate your design against the end user's need. All right. You evaluate your design or your solution against the end user, because providing the solution is not just enough. You need to do evaluation and ask yourself and ask questions. Does this design solve the end user's problem? All right. So you need to be sure that, okay, this is actually meeting the needs. So, and one of the ways to also do that is by testing your product with people, with real people. Let them test it out. Let them see, let them get comments about their experience about that particular product. Are we there? So, and final, okay. Then next, it is important to solve problems that people actually experience, rather than only trying to solve problems you personally experience. Now, this is also very important, because it's not just about you. The design you are making is not about, because a lot of people used to be biased about this. They will feel, a lot of product designers, let me say, they used to be feel what they think, what the end users need. It's based on what they want, what they're expecting, what they want, the problem they are facing. Okay. So once you're able to know that, then you design or solve that problem they are experiencing. So, and it will reduce the impact of designer bias, because there's something called designer bias when you're just being, you are being selfish. All right. So then quick straight to the user-centered. So user-centered design, put the user front and center. Focusing on the user means considering their story that you have gathered about design. You put the front of everything. Good. So let's go to the next one. The 5-element framework. That's the next framework we'll talk about. It's called the 5-element framework. Now, look at this diagram here. Take a look at the diagram here. You can see it's like a stack of glasses on top of each other. Now we have the one at the bottom called strategy. We have scope. We have structure. We have skeleton, and we have the surface. Now, this is a wonderful framework that will allow you to walk through a product design journey successfully. All right. Now, look at each of the layers. All right. Each of these layers, as you're seeing them here, refers to a specific involvement that you need to go through in creating user experience. And as you see this layer, each of them is dependent on each other, which means you can see they are resting on each other. They are independent on each one is resting on the other one. Now, let me start from the bottom one, because this is where it starts, the strategic area. Now, the strategy is where you define the user's need and objectives. All right. See, this is the bottom layer strategies. This is where you define the user's needs and objective and business objective, I will say. All right. So you decide on the on the goal of the problem you're trying to solve for the users. Then we have the scope as well. The scope is where you determine what you are actually building. All right. You decide on features, the content that you want to also include in the product. All right. So the third layer is the structure, which is where you figure out how to organize and design, how to organize your design and how the user will interact with it. So once you have been able to find out the problem, you build something, then you structure it out on how the user will walk through it. Then the next one you have is the skeleton. Look at it here. You have the skeleton here, which is like the bones, the structure. It's like the layout. It's similar to how the layout of our bones shape our skin. So these layers is what will help us to get the details on how the design works. Then the last one, which is the which is one of the most important parts, is what everybody sees, right? It's the top level of the user experience. The surface is how the product looks to the user. But you can see, you can't get the surface outside the remaining layers, because without all of these ones, the users or the end users will not see something that they like, or they would love to use, right? So that's why it's very important for us to use this process. Then the next framework I'm going to talk about very quickly is what we call the UX design process. UX design process. So this is what the UX design process looks like. Can you see? We have this is the framework: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. I come again: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. I'm going to run through it in a matter of minutes very quickly. Now, the first one is empathize. I think I mentioned empathize. If you can remember very well, I already mentioned empathize. I talk about empathy, all right? And this is the first stage, which is about discovering what your users really need, all right? Empathy, you put yourself in their shoes to know what they really need, all right? So you might need to go through research, conduct a survey, or do some observation sessions, you run interviews, it's just for you to have a clear picture of what the end users the problem they are facing, the challenges that they are facing, all right? So, and the next phase is for you to define the problem, all right? Able to walk through what they experience, you will now be able to define what is the problem, because the user may not even be able to, the end users may not be able to, define the problem. They just know that they are not feeling comfortable with some of these things. So in the second stage is where you define the problem but you could create what is called a problem statement. There's something called problem statement in UX design process. So in the UX, in the problem statement, that's where you are able to come out with a solid statement of what a clear description of what the user's needs should be and how it should be addressed. It's going to be based on research. So once we're able to define the problem, then the next thing is we'll create a solution. We'll come up with a solution. And that's ideate. All right. So you come up with an idea that you are trying to use to solve the problem. So you come up with innovative solutions, and at this stage, of course, you're going to be coming out with sorry. Okay, define the problem. I think I've talked about it. They've talked about this. So once you're able to define the problem, then you come up with, you ideate or brainstorm on what should be done. All right. Then the next thing is you prototype. Once you have been able to come up with a possible solution, you create a prototype of how it's going to look like, how the solution you have made available for them is going to look like. So, and a prototype is a scaled down version of a product that shows important functions. You should have a clear goal for your prototype in mind. Now, these are some of the things we'll be going through in this course. We're going to be running through an application that will help us to be able to do all of this work, that will help us to work all of this journey, all right? And it's going to be really easy for every one of us, I believe. And finally, we need to test the prototype with the users, all right? Testing keeps the user front and center, and it gives users an opportunity to provide feedback before the product is built. Okay, so you try to test it. Let's know how it feels. And there's something called iterate. It's just a way of improving something. And like you see, even most of the apps you use today, you always see a pop-up for you to update at some point. Why do you think they ask you to update? There is a particular, and they are to experience it, or there is a new feature that they have added and they want you to start using. So, and that's the part of iterate. It's always there. You go back, there's always a room for you to improve on things, make things better, and changes and improvement comes with over time. All right. So those are the three. We are you will be in product design. All right. So very quickly, let's go through some of the examples of good and bad UX. All right. Some of the examples of good and bad UX. Now, when it comes to UX usability, there are quite a number of things that we really need to understand. Okay. Now, of course, I'm still going to be talking about some other things in more details as we proceed. But as a UX designer, the user needs, as a UX designer, needs to keep the end user as your main priority is highly important. The need to keep the end user as your main priority is highly important. All right. Okay. For example, just imagine you are developing a children's toy. You want to create a product, children's toy. All right. And your sales and marketing teammates, they are trying to encourage parents to buy. All right. But do you know that even though they are encouraging the parents to buy, the product was actually designed to appeal to children, which is the end user. So the fact that they want, of course, the kids are not going to be the one to buy it for themselves, it's the parent. But at the same time, the kids are the end users of that particular product. So of course, they market it to the parents, they show it on TV adverts, they promote it at different places. But the goal is for the kids to like it. And you see, when you take a kid into a store like that, you see, there's a way that those things get their attention naturally. It doesn't get the attention of the parent like that. If in fact, if it gets your attention, you only thought of it for your children, not for yourself. Because obviously this is not for you. This is for kids. It has actually been designed for them. So that's why it's very important that anything we're going to do, we have our okay. And I mentioned about we're wearing so many hats in product design. As it is right now, I must be honest with you. Okay, let me use my case as an example. I'll use my case as an example. I have worked with startups whereby I have to do quite a number of things as a generalist. I have to be the one to do the user research, do the branding, do the user flow, do UX writing, do prototyping, even do production design, do information architecture, and some other things. All right. So of course, those things have the pros and their cons. But the good thing about that is you'll be able to develop yourself in so many areas. You'll be able to learn at different levels. You'll be able to gather so many informations, develop skills at different levels. You learn about how to have a good visual look for a product. You learn about how to research about the product. You know about how to do prototyping. You learn about UX writing. You could write a copy for products. You could write a copy for an application. You could write a copy that is going to engage the user. That user will feel like it's a real person that is talking to them, not just a bot, not just they'll feel like someone is interacting to them real life because of the things they read on the screen, because of the way the captions are being put to them. They feel they could see themselves inside that thing. It's one of those skills that you learn along the way. But being a specialist, of course, you just have to be focused on one thing. And if you're going to be working with startups, just be sure that you are going to be doing more of generalist, all right? But if it's a bigger organization, like let's say Microsoft or some other bigger organizations, of course, there are hundreds or even thousands of people, staffs that they have, and each of them focuses on different things. All right. So that's it. The same thing applies to not just product design in every other part. Let's say in the software engineers or the UX engineers that I talked about the other time, they are the people that when you are done with your product, you deploy to them your digital product, you hand it over to them, all right, and they will be the one to make it to become a real life thing that everybody can now use and share. So in their field as well, you have people focuses on the front end, people focuses on the back end, people focuses on the database side and different parts of the thing. But we still have generalists that could do all of those things. All right. So, and we also have what we call, as we have generalists, we have specialists. We also have some categories of people called the T-shaped. I think that's the word I could use for them. The T-shaped. You know, the oh, I don't have the picture here. I would have shown you how the picture looks like. It's just like a T, a capital letter T. Just try to view capital letter T. The way capital letter T looks is you have a line on top and you have another line that goes down. So the way it works is that line up is going to have the list of different things that you can do. All right. But that center where you have the T is going to have that area where you are most, professional about. So that one, you can see the leg is going to go deep down. That means you are well rooted in that particular field than every other part. But of course, it's good to have a good understanding of how every other one works so that you can relate with other people in that field. You can talk when they are discussing something in that area. You could talk, you could, reason along, you could talk to them, you could communicate in the same language which they're talking. Because if you're participating in online communities of UX or product designers, you'll be hearing a lot of things, talking about different things, research, trends, and all of those things. So it will really help you to get better at a whole lot of things. So very quickly, let's go into this good and bad UX. Sorry, does anybody have any questions so far?
No. Okay.
Okay, good. So based on what I've been saying, you now know that you could have a good UX and you could have a bad UX for every product. So when it's a good UX, people will recommend it to their friends and you have already gained another client, right? You've gained a loyal client. When it's a bad UX, you tell your friends on how bad it is and you do what? You search for an alternative, ultimately. You look for another way out, all right? So, and before I forget this, always know that as a product designer, of course, there's going to be a lot of critics when you're working, especially if you're working with an organization. There's going to be a lot of critics. They tell you, why will you do this? Some people will just talk about your work, something that you have been laboring to do and all of that. But one thing I keep in mind is I see those critics as a contribution to the success of that product. Launch it, people are not going to like it. So people are going to look at it, and that's why we have room for testing. People test and give comments. And that's why some products, when you see people want to launch some products, you will see they will release it as a beta version first. BET, a beta version, which means it's still under the development stage. Yeah, it's still under the test. We are still trying to work on it. We are still trying to improve it. We are still, so just use it. Give us comment. Let's know how it works. All right. Let's get your feedback. Let's get responses from you. So so you just see some of those critics as a collective effort to bring out the best possible product ever. All right. And you see, and interestingly, when you work in a team of intelligent people, people that are smart, and they could impact you, you really love it. It could be challenging, but it's something you will really love to do over and over again. And by the time you see your product, the product that you worked on, being used by people, oh, that brings so much joy to you. When you see your idea coming to life and people smile using that particular product, of course, you're gonna imagine people using ATM machine today. All right, ATM today. Some people came up with the idea, they designed it, and they keep improving it. That we could have a machine that could allow people to get payment without even seeing any physical person, and you could communicate with the machine. Okay, you could even, and now when the ATM thing was first launched, there was nothing like fingerprints, getting cash with your fingerprint. But now it has been improved to that level that you don't even need to carry card around. That's another way to improve. That's one of the ways to improve products. That, okay, some people, sometimes they forget their card at home. They don't even remember. Does that mean they couldn't get any money from the card, from the machine? Okay, let's see how we can run that. Oh, there's a way we could integrate. Everybody uses thumb prints. Like when you register in your bank, you do thumb and all of that. We could try to inculcate that into the machine so that even if you don't carry your card, you could easily have an alternative, and the second alternative that you cannot even forget at home. Of course, nobody could forget their hands at home. You carry your hand around everywhere. You could easily put in your hand and you get informations. And an example is people using barcodes now. Okay, barcode is one of the ways people get informations and or transfer informations. They don't need to cram everything. They don't need to write everything down. Even in your browser, Chrome browsers and some other browsers, there's a way you can create a QR of a particular information that when people scan it, they could get the actual details of that thing. No matter how plenty that information is, everything will be inside that back. Are you following what I'm trying to say now? So that's another way to improve user experience. So it's so essential that we work on creating one of the best experiences for our users. And one of the ways that, like the examples of the machine that I cited the other time, they actually got that information based on user research and feedbacks. That, okay, some people forget their cards at home. How do we fix that? All right. Another thing that happens is, I was even thinking about that recently. I was asking people, how is it going to be possible for them to fix a situation whereby, sometimes some people go to the ATM machine the ATM to withdraw, and they forget their card. Some just get the money and dash out of that place, and they end up losing their card. And the machine has been programmed to automatically keep the card for you, swallow the card after some time. All right, but could there be a way that the experience, the user journey, would not even allow them to forget the card? So that's another thing. So these are ways that product designers think, just to ensure that the users are being considered. Like I said, user first. Focus on the users, then every other thing follows. Focus on the users, then every other thing follows. Focus on the users, then every other thing will fall in place. So let's quickly review some of these designs. So depending on how the product is serviced or designed, the experience can range from delightful to downright frustrating. Depending on how the product or service is designed, the experience can range from delightful to downright frustrating. Now, this is one example. I think these examples, an example like this was shown to us last week in the class last week, if we remember very well. And this part, I want it to be quite interactive. I want us to, I'll be asking us some questions, and I would like to get responses from us. Now, the impact of good and bad UX is everywhere. And every time you cause a push door that has a pull bar or close a confusing website in frustration, you are making a judgment on the quality of its UX design. Let me read again. Every time you cause a push door that has a pull bar or close a confusing website in frustration, you are actually making a judgment on the quality of his UX design. So you could tell whether it's good or not based on your experience. Now look at this door, for instance. I want someone to tell me what is wrong here. What make this door? There's something wrong here. Can anybody tell me? I need someone to say, talk here.
It has a pull bar and a push button, push label on it.
Exactly. All right. So this has a pull bar and it has a pull label on it. So it's quite confusing. And this is what happens literally everywhere. If you look around you in your house, of course, and if you, this man I was talking about the other time, this man, Don Norman, you know, one of the things that made him to come about this idea of user experience is that there was a time he left his country for another place, and he got to realize that, I can't remember the country, but he got to that place and he got to realize that literally everything in that particular place, he couldn't use them. He couldn't use the switch, the switches on the wall. They were just confusing. The door to the bedroom, the literally everything was quite designed in the wrong way. It was just, it would be that, and that's why there's something called Norman doors. It was named after his name. And the door I showed you the other time, which is the pull push door, is called Norman doors. Any doors that is like that, they call it Norman doors. And a Norman doors is a door that says, you know, it's supposed to do that. Okay, so it's one of the reasons why the man came up, and this man has really done a great job. He wrote, hello?
It's breaking up.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Please repeat what you just said about Norman.
Okay. I talked about this man called Norman, and the door I showed you the other time, that pull and push door, is called Norman doors. Norman doors. And it was named after this man. He wrote a particular book, which I will recommend for everyone, and it will be sent to our group. It's called The Design of Everyday Things by Don Norman, The Design of Everyday Things. If you can still see my screen, I'm going to quickly show you The Design of Everyday Things by Don Norman. You can see that. So this is how the book looks like. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
We can see it here.
Okay, good. So it's a book by Don Norman. You know, he was finding quite a number of things difficult to use, the switches, everything. So he decided to come up with that thing. Can you see? He decided to come up with all of those things. Then there are other things that will still be talked about in the subsequent classes, wireframes and all of those things, but that will be later. So let me just get back to the examples I was showing us the other time. So that's that. I need someone else to tell me something wrong. I mean, which of this design is best and why? Or which one is best? Okay.
I think the one on the left, because the on and off button is color coded.
Fantastic.
And I think the amber is also color coded as well. And it's also separated into kind of like volumes and, you know, numbers, channel and all of that. I think the top, the white one is a bit confusing.
Fantastic. Yeah. So that's it. And you could see the shape. It's easier to hold in the hand. You could see the shape. It's more comfortable to hold than the other one. You see some remote controls, they are you know, they're just horrible handling them, you know. So Of course, we could have a better design than this, but it just shows how things can improve. We could have a better design. And there's this other illustration that I normally use as well of a particular product that was launched at a particular, it was a drink. By the roadside, and people in the car trying to drive around, they will buy and keep, when they take the drink, they try to keep it close to there's a small dashboard beside the car, the seats, where you try to keep bottles of waters or something. And the interesting thing is the size of the bottle they use for that particular product could not stay in that spot. So the remnant of that that drink tends to pour away. So it really discourages a lot of people from buying that particular thing because it couldn't stay. And that's why when you see most of the package that box, you just including the design of cars, the design of every functionalities, features you have in a car is part of the UX product design process. Why many of us like a particular brand of a cars than the other is even though we didn't see the processes that were being run before those things were achieved. But we eventually end up liking it because we are the end user. They focused you, they already targeted you, they knew that this is what you want. You're right. So the moment you saw it, you'll be like, wow, I love this. Oh, then you couldn't just hide it. You just keep liking that particular thing. A lot of work has been done in the background to ensure that whenever these people will love to see this thing, they have been expecting to see this in this particular feature, or they've been expecting us to improve this particular thing. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's one of the ways where that's how we think as product designers. That's how we reason. So it's not just about trying to design blah blah blah. It's more of psychological thinking, doing research, and ensure that you launch a viable product eventually. So it's a lot of process that we need to understand, which will still be continuing as we proceed in the class. So you're going to be learning a whole lot of things. So let's see the next one here. Can anybody tell me what's wrong here? Try to look at it very well.
I think the left one is just saying save or delete. And the right one actually tells you what they would like you to do. It's giving you a very clear instruction of what
Try to
they
check
like
it
you
very
to
well.
do.
The buttons are different.
Oh, I get you now. So are you trying to say the one that is more prominent or?
Now, there is an error in the two designs. There's actually some issues with the two designs. Yeah. So there are two different things you'll tell me.
Checkbox to subscribe button. Oh, it's saying save or delete.
If you look at this one on the right hand, if you check the box, it says checkbox to unsubscribe. All right. You want to unsubscribe, then this button is telling you to subscribe. You could see some conflict there.
Yeah, because if it's asking you to unsubscribe, it means you're already subscribed, isn't it?
Exactly. So it's kind of confusing.
Yeah.
See. Then this one on the right, this.
You're breaking, Timi. We're losing some of your words. We can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but you're breaking intermittently.
Oh, sorry. I think it's fine now, right?
Yeah, you carry on, please. Yeah, thank you.
Is it cool now?
Yeah, it's okay. I think I don't know if it's the network of where you are. It's just every now and again we lose some words that you are saying.
Oh, so sorry. I guess it's the network.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So the other one on making the delete button to be very prominent. And looking at this delete button, it's a very sensitive button that you would not like to do except you are sure about it. Because sometimes when you delete something, it's going to be quite difficult for you to recover it. Okay. So when you delete something, it's going to be quite difficult for you to recover it. So the prominent one should not be more on the delete button. And that's why even on your PC, whenever you want to delete anything, there is going to be a prompting again. Imagine when you delete something on your computer, there is no prompting like, are you sure you want to delete? Let's say you just press the delete on your keyboard and it just disappears. You know, sometimes you could mistakenly press the delete button and it just disappears and you couldn't find it again. But they made it such a way that, number one, it's going to prompt and ask you, are you sure you want to delete? You have to say yes. And the action button at that point will even be on the no, so that you will not mistakenly press. So you have to be the one to click on the yes. Then, even after clicking on the yes, it will still move to the trash. All right. In case, so that you could easily say, oh, I'm changing my mind, I'm not deleting this thing again, I'm getting it back. That's an experience that works fine. So it's going to be in the trash for quite a while. Even your main delete something from the main inbox, it still gets to be in your trash for a while, for a number of times. So, and if you would not need that the next 30 days, that means it again. So it can now go away. So let's move on to the next one. Now look at this design. Now, which way would you turn the handle for Alt or code? Increase the volume of the water. Anybody with an answer?
To the right.
To the right.
To the right.
So why right?
I mean, to me, it hasn't given any instructions on where is the hot, which way is the hot and which way is the cold.
Exactly.
So no clear
there's no
instructions.
clear cut indication or description. So it's quite, you have to be trying to figure it out yourself, trying to look around, where do I put? So it's quite complicated. So this is an example of a bad UX. All right. So it should be easy for the user to figure out. Okay. To ask anybody where to put your hand when you want to open the car to your door. It's obvious. There's a place around the car that has been designed for the hand to open the door. Okay, so that's exactly how it should be. It should be something that is easy, simple, and very easy to understand for everyone. Okay, so now let's check the next one. I want you to look at this. Let's see. These are two different things. So I want to tell me what's wrong on the left and on the right.
On the left, it's the two cancel buttons.
Thank you. How about the right?
Sorry, I'm still reading that.
Okay.
It's saying to enter a discount code, but there's no way to enter the discount code.
Okay.
And it says to click OK, but there's no OK button.
Thank you. There's no OK button. So you could see it's quite it's quite funny. You'd be like, oh, where's the okay button I'm going to click? Is this the same thing as yes, or which one is okay? Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's an example of confusing UX. So it actually applies to quite a number of things, not just this. It applies to physical product as well. I think I should have an example of some physical products here that we'll talk about. Let's check out this. Anybody, I need someone else to talk about this. The one on the right and on the left.
The one on the left is very funny. It doesn't, it's kind of saying it's an entrance point for the disabled or somebody who is disabled. And then there's a pole in front.
Exactly. So it's the wrong way, it's the wrong thing, sign in the wrong place. Okay, what about the one on the right hand side?
There's a very lengthy, oh, sorry. So
It's okay, Karen. I was gonna say exactly the same thing. It's so long and it's
exactly.
keep your eyes on the road, but it's too long.
Focus, and then is giving you option about this, talking about focus your attention on driving. Then you have okay is out of place. Language also is out of place now. So there's so much to do.
Exactly. And even the text is too long. Like it's trying to tell you that you should not take your eyes off the road for so long. And you know, this reading this could take like something about 5 seconds or even more for some people. And that way you are taking your eyes off the road, which will even cause a crash. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
So it's a wrong way to pass information. It shouldn't be as bold, as long as this, even though you want to. There's a way you could do the copy. That's why we talk about UX copy the other time, UX writer. There's a way you could put this information in a more compacted way that it will pass the information across and it will still help the driver to maintain their ways. They won't have to look away for so long. All right. And the same concept they apply in branding, in advertising. You know, all these billboards along the main road, you know, all these big billboards that you see, you realize that most of those billboards, they don't usually put too much of long line text, unlike they do on flyers, because they are expecting that most people will be driving while reading those things. So they want people to be able to look and get, and that's why you see they use more of pictures that get people like, just look at it like 2 seconds and you're back on the road. Your eyes is back on the main road. And looking at it for like that 2 seconds, you already pick the message of what they are trying to pass across. You get the concept now. So it's not for you to say, okay, I'm trying to read the no. It's just pick the message. You just put a bold text with the caption. Everything looks simple, and you just pass on, and you are cool with the information. All right. So the next one here, I need people to tell me what's wrong here. You know, I have 3 images here actually. I have this one. Oh, sorry. I have the first one, this one, and this other one here. I'm expecting a response.
All right, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah, so I think the enter button for the ATM button machine.
Okay.
Yeah. So the enter shouldn't be in color red and shouldn't have that cancel sign because it has a hex bar near the cancel should be there. Yeah. Then the enter should be this place where there is the green, the cancel, and the clear shouldn't have shouldn't be there also. Then for the second one, the stop struggling repackage. Okay, so they are saying they are selling something that is going to help people not to struggle with stubborn plastic package, but the packaging itself, it comes with it's going to help. People are going to struggle trying to even open up this thing. So yes. Then the third one said don't push, pull only. Don't pull, it's quite confusing what they want the user to do for the door.
And the first one as well, I think,
So that's
for the first one as well, I think part of the alphabets are covered.
Okay.
Stop struggling with those
Okay.
plastic packages.
So you can see that there are a lot of things that are wrong here, looking at it. So the same way I want you to see things around you right now. From now,
Timi,
I want you to
we can see a lot of bad product design everywhere.
definitely, and it actually tells on the marketability of that particular product, and you know, and that's it's one of the things that competitors use against some people. Once they see that this thing is there, you're not implementing it for a long time, they just find another option, a better way to introduce that thing, and people will just jump on that one. They forget about every other thing. All right. So every product must have its unique problem that is solving for the end users. All right. Look at the applications you use now. Look at WhatsApp, for example. Look at Telegram. They are all you could call them social media lab, but they are not the same thing. Of course, if they are the same thing, people wouldn't have. Maybe they are not the same thing. They have the problem that they are solving, what they are addressing, and what would make them to still be relevant in the market. Iterating, they keep things that even before the user begin to ask, open their mouth and say, we will need this thing. They already provided those things. Okay, that's one of the things that bring about sustainability in business, in a particular product. When people before the people could even talk about it, you're already there. That you do a lot of research every now and then to ensure that things keep improving, because this age now, the way things are changing is very fast. So don't just sit down and expect, oh, I have these and that's all. No, there are some apps that we normally use before. I don't want to start mentioning that we don't use again, because we feel like they don't serve us anymore. Back in those days, they were the hot guys, they were the hot ones, they are the hot cake that everybody likes to use. But now they are no more. We don't like to use. They are not. People are not using them. The moment people are people are backing out of the product. It's a terrible thing. The thing is going to shut down any time. So more users, it's what makes a product to still survive, because the more people you have, the more clients you have, the more money you make, the more relevance you have out there. You understand? So there should be a particular problem that you're solving, and you keep improving. Don't just say, okay, I did this, no, that's fine. Then you keep getting better over and over and over and over again. All right. So I'm just going to be wrapping it up here. Next week, we're going to be talking more about research, talk about medical terms in design framework. How you can carry out a research, how you can work on the persona, how can you use persona, how you can do testing, how you can do an overall framework process of a product, whether it's a digital product, whether it's a physical product, how you can run your way around it, the kind of people you are going to be working with, and how to be able to communicate effectively with them, right? So let me see what's next here. Okay, I have assignment for us here. Yeah, and it's I have 3 assignments. What roles does empathy play in design thinking? That's number one. Then number two, what are your favorite apps for UX? Then explain why. First one, what role does empathy play in design thinking? I believe you understand what design thinking is. If you don't, then you need to flash back to what we did the other time. Then what are your favorite apps for UX and explain why? It could be your banking app, it could be your social media app, it could be whatever app you use that you like so much. Then you let us know why you enjoy the experience you're having with that particular product. Then is UX design the same as UI design? If yes, if no, then let's know what's the difference. If yes, then if it's no, then let's know what the difference is. So I'd like you to prepare this and send it to us across before the next class so that we could review it and talk about it more. And for those of us who have submitted the previous assignment, we will check and get back to you to notify you about if there's need for you to, make some read up and all of that. Then for additional read up, you have some other things here. Yeah. So because of our time, I think I'm almost exhausting my time.
Thank you, Timi.
So yeah, I'm going to be, drawing the curtain here today.
Thank you, Timi. Does anyone have any question?
Yes, ma'am.
Have we demystified product design? Thank you, Timi. Rosie says thank you. Please help me thank Timi for an amazing session. Can you actually believe that we've done 2 hours? I can't believe it. As in, like, where did the time go? 2 what? But we have done 2 hours of product design, and we would like to take your feedback. How did you find it so far? Is it helpful? Is it something that you think you can do? And has the session really helped you? Okay, Ife said, great. Thank you, Ife, for your feedback. Really, really appreciate it. Keep them coming. So we can assume that you can be a product designer going forward. And like Timi said, it's not just about digital. It can be anything, a wallet, a purse, and like Sister Folake setting up a nursery, you can think of how to design, materials to attract children. I know Timi talked about, going to a cinema, watching an animated, a talking vehicle and all of that. So it's very vast. The field is so big, it's huge. The opportunities are there, and it does pay well as well. So if you are looking to get into it as a career, it's quite rewarding, and if you're looking to use it for your business as well, there are ways that you can improve on what you already have. So at this point, does anyone have any question? Okay. Oh, thank you. Excellent examples of your tutoring. Wow, Timi, you're the real MVP. Thank you for the rest of the team. They're also on the call. Product design is something that's really, you can't even do anything these days without designing it. Otherwise, one is setting him or herself up for failure. So even if it's just a rough sketch, whatever it is that comes to mind, always have a design. Always have a design. That's the future now. And with the way we're looking to get more females into technology, most designs back in the days, like 10 years ago, thereabouts, is focused on, because the designers are predominantly male. So if you look at a game console, for some of us that probably play games, all these Fortnite and all those computer games, if you use that, you will see the size of the console. They're huge. It's like for a hand, for male hands, basically. Until recently, that we females started getting into all this design and tech and all of that, we can now see that, okay, things are changing. If you look at your Fitbits, I don't know if you use Fitbits or any wearables, the colors, you cannot get them in pink. Before, everything is black or silver, Even your iPhone, your Apple phone, they started designing pink cover, you know, right from the branding, they started taking female into consideration. And there's still a lot of gaps that we can do, a lot of gaps in this industry. So look around you, everywhere we go, like Timi said, there are badly designed products. Trust me, if we can look for a way to improve that product, for sure, we have an idea, and that idea is worth money. So let's not think of it like, okay, I know most of us might be looking into it as a career, but start looking at it with the perspective of what you've learned today. Like, oh, this thing can be better. This door is, this is like that. I can improve on it, you know, so that we can all create a better, more user-friendly environment and businesses that will thrive, because any business that solves a problem, definitely you will make money from it. Sorry, I'm deviating. I just thought I should drop it there. You know, like as you're leaving this class, think about it like, okay, I'm going to be looking out for problems. Let's be problem solvers. Alimat is saying that we're behind with our assignments, week 1 and week 2. So I don't know, what is the challenge that we're facing? Is it that we don't know what the assignment is, or, you know, what is the challenge we're facing? Because that's the only way we can assess progress and give feedback. Ife, do you want to say something? I think Ife and maybe Barcase might not know what the assignment is. So Timi,
Yeah.
do you want to tell us what the assignment for last week was? Let's just have a quick recap of last week's assignment and this week's assignment, so that Agogo2 is just joining, and I think Falake moved around, so they may not actually have all those information. Can we just go through what last week's assignment is, what this week's assignment is, and how they can get the assignment back to us, please? Thank you.
Okay, the assignment for this week is here. I think I'll show us the one for last week. This is the assignment for this week. Let me try to share this so that we can all see. This is the assignment for this week. All right. So we'll also forward it on the general group that we have, so that everybody can catch up with it. Then for last week's assignments, we had the last week assignments, and then let me quickly bring about that. Okay. So we have last week's assignments. Oh, not this, sorry. I think last week's assignment is more about you checking the female tech website and see how you can improve it. I'll try to get the content right now. Just hold on. Okay. Okay, this is last week's assignment. Carefully look into female Techpreneur Bootcamp forum platform and identify things you think could be improved upon, things that you think needs to be changed, things that you need to be added to make the overall user experience of the platform better. So this is the assignment for last week. Then this is the one for this week. Yeah. Sorry, this is the one for this week here.
Okay, thank you, Timi. So if some of us have already logged onto the forum, we will notice that we're talking about design, right? And I'm not the one to shy away from when something is not, is not that perfect. So we want you to tell us what can be done differently. I know for a fact that people have been saying, oh, I can't upload my assignment and things like that. You as a designer, what have you spotted? How can it look better? You know, give us, that is your assignment basically. What's the user journey, user experience on that forum, Female Techpreneur Forum? that is what assignment for week 1. You can see that's very simple. I think we've had 1 or 2 feedback actually. We just need everyone to be involved. And then assignment 2 is, what role does empathy play in design thinking? We all know what empathy is, putting ourselves in other people's shoes. So what role does it play? You know, it's like you're absorbing that role play and making sure that you can solve their problem. So what are your favorite apps for UX design and why? So if you haven't got any, just look into, you can Google it. We just want to prepare you for next week, because we'll be going into this one or two of these applications. And it's good for you to have at least background understanding of it. And we're saying that is UX design, UI design, what's the difference? You know, there's always this misconception that they're the same. In fact, a lot of people can't explain the difference properly, but they are different in a certain way. And also, you can end up doing both roles concurrently. Most organizations will hire one person to do UI and UX. Sometimes it can be a split role. So can you tell us what the difference is? Bullet points, keep it very simple. You can even do it this afternoon, that's fresh in your mind. So Efe, you put your hand up.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. It has been such a beautiful session. So thanks to Timi and thanks to you for putting it together. My question is, are we going to have the recording? If no, that's fine. If yes, what happens to those areas that we're breaking up? Because there was a lot of parts of it that were breaking up. So I'm not sure.
Yes, so we normally send the replays, and the only thing I can say with regards to the breaking up is if you have any question that you think, okay, I didn't really catch this bit because of the breaking up, then we can take that again. We can do, we normally do some chats on the groups, so we can take any topic or any bit of it that you think, okay, this is not clear. Obviously, if it's not captured, it won't be in the replay, but we can do like a refresh of anything that is missing, so to speak.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other question?
How do we submit the assignments? Some people said forum, some people said on Telegram.
If you could send it, I think forum, because I've seen somebody upload it onto forum. That is our first point of call. But I've also seen a couple of people saying, oh, I'm unable to do that. Maybe there is a bug, which we're looking into right now. So if you struggle with that, then the next thing will be email.
All right.
What I'm looking to do is to create a Google Drive. If I have time today, I will do that, so that you can also just upload it onto Google Drive, so you're not clogging your emails.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I've got to sign out now because I've got the next data team coming on. Thank you so much, Timi. Thank you, Faith. Thank you, Alimat. Thank you, all our delegates. We love you, and we hope we have been able to share some knowledge with yourself. Please give us your feedback. We welcome any feedback. Obviously, the positive, the better, but even if there is anything else we'd like to know so we can get better at what we do, do